The battleship that America scrapped 4 separate times always returned to service, like a sea monster refusing to yield. Just imagine a ship of such incredible power and imposing presence that its launch symbolically coincided with the anniversary of the Pearl Harbor tragedy. It was clear to everyone. This steel behemoth would become the instrument of vengeance. With 16-inch guns capable of obliterating any coastal fortress, and a speed comparable to cruisers, it carried an operational crew of thousands of sailors ready for battle. The United States had acquired a true monster of the ocean, destined to be a symbol of unyielding power and a nightmare for its enemies. The birth of the battleship USS New Jersey was shrouded in drama and a solemn vow to avenge the humiliation inflicted on the American fleet early in the war. This moment determined its heroic place in history. In the late 1930s, anxiety reigned in Washington. Japanese engineers were developing battleships capable of speeds exceeding 30 knots. Faced with this threat, the American fleet risked leaving its aircraft carriers without proper escort. The decision was made swiftly: design an entirely new class of battleship. Not merely floating fortresses, but rapid, multi-purpose weapons. Thus emerged the Iowa class, the pinnacle of American shipbuilding thought at the time. The USS New Jersey was destined to be one of the most powerful representatives of this project. Its length was staggering, reaching almost 900 feet. Its full displacement was 60,000 tons, and the crew numbered over 2,000 personnel. Its 9 massive guns, housed in 3 turrets, could launch nearly 1-ton shells for dozens of miles. Crucially, the ship was so fast it could keep pace with aircraft carriers, a feat previously considered impossible for a battleship. The Navy had gained not just a war machine, but a true technological breakthrough. It was December 1942. A huge crowd gathered at the shipyard, well aware of the symbolism. Exactly 1 year prior, Japanese aircraft had delivered a devastating blow to Pearl Harbor. On this day, the New Jersey was launched. The ship slid down the slipway, touched the river, and became the living embodiment of retribution. People applauded, and Captain Carl Holden, accepting command, declared her a beautiful lady, but one whose anger would be terrible. No one doubted that the battleship's destiny would be unique. While the ship was being completed, the best possible crew was selected. Sailors meticulously studied every system and mechanism, preparing for the upcoming battles. Even before putting to sea, the New Jersey was already steeped in legend. It was said it would surpass anything America had ever built. For the Japanese, its name was meant to be a sentence. For the Allies, a symbol of might. This steel behemoth was born in the fires of the World War, carrying the premonition of great battles from its first day. Soon, the New Jersey would head for the Pacific, where it would fire its first salvo at the enemy, proving that its nickname, Monster of the Ocean, was well-deserved. When the New Jersey officially entered service in the spring of 1943, its crew was eager to test the ship's power. Its initial sorties into the Pacific became a true baptism by fire, and every salvo from its guns echoed throughout the Japanese fleet. This was no mere armored hulk. It was a moving fortress capable of leveling fortified positions with a single shot. The first serious test was the operation to seize the Marshall Islands. The Americans needed bases for further advance, but the Japanese had turned these tiny atolls into impregnable fortresses. The New Jersey was assigned the role of the primary battering ram. Its 16-inch guns unleashed a hail of fire on the concrete bunkers. Japanese garrisons, accustomed to repelling attacks from light cruisers and destroyers, faced an insurmountable force. Hundreds of tons of steel and fire rained down on their positions as the Marines prepared to land. The battleship's speed was particularly impressive. Where old battleships hopelessly lagged behind, the New Jersey swiftly changed position, managing both to shield carriers and fire on coastal fortifications. For the first time, sailors felt like masters of the ocean. Their ship could be wherever it was needed. The crew quickly adapted to battle stations. Japanese air raids became a test of strength for the New Jersey. Thanks to powerful anti-aircraft artillery and excellent crew training, every raid ended with enemy planes crashing into the ocean before reaching their target. In one engagement, the New Jersey's gunners shot down over 20 Japanese aircraft, including kamikazes. A second mission proved even riskier, shelling Japanese fortifications in the Caroline Islands. Here, the New Jersey worked in tandem with the carriers, its every salvo coinciding with deck aviation raids. Enemy garrisons found themselves trapped. Bombs fell from above, while shells weighing nearly a ton hammered them from the sea. Command was stunned by the ship's effectiveness. It not only conducted massive bombardments, but also reliably covered the carriers, allowing them to act more aggressively. Every day, rescued American pilots, plucked from the water after air battles, climbed aboard the New Jersey. For them, this battleship became a true guardian angel. Thus, with its first resounding victories, the New Jersey began its combat career. Ahead lay even larger battles that would decide the fate of the entire Pacific theater of operations. This ship was just beginning its bloody path, and its name already instilled fear in the enemy. The summer of 1944 placed the New Jersey at the very center of the greatest naval battles of World War II. Its name already inspired fear among the Japanese, but true fame came at the Battle of the Philippine Sea, the largest carrier engagement in history. The American fleet was advancing, aiming to destroy Japanese air power and cut enemy supply lines. The New Jersey received a crucial assignment: cover the carriers from fighter and kamikaze attacks, and, if necessary, engage any enemy surface forces. When the Japanese committed hundreds of planes to the battle, the sky over the ocean turned into hell. The New Jersey's anti-aircraft fire played a decisive role. Dozens of attacking machines were shot down, and the sailors nicknamed the battle the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. Japan lost the bulk of its carrier aircraft, a turning point in the war. Just months later, however, a much harsher test awaited the ship: the Battle of Leyte Gulf. This was the largest naval battle of all time, with hundreds of ships involved. The New Jersey became Admiral Halsey's flagship, and it was from its bridge that the main striking force of the United States fleet was directed. American battleships and carriers clashed with desperate Japanese forces attempting to save their last positions in the Philippines. The New Jersey's massive 16-inch guns roared for days on end. It bombarded Japanese bases, sank ships, and even participated in the only surface artillery engagement for the Iowa class, when it shelled retreating enemy vessels alongside the USS Iowa. Eyewitnesses described the power of these salvos. Car-sized shells sped toward the enemy and exploded, making entire destroyers vanish in flames within minutes. Soon, the New Jersey participated in the raid on Tokyo. For Americans, this was a symbolic blow, as carriers and battleships approached the very heart of Japan for the first time. The ship's artillery fired on key bases, and its anti-aircraft crews shot down another 24 enemy planes. Euphoria reigned on board. The crew knew they were making history, bringing the war to an end. The New Jersey became the only battleship to serve as flagship for two of the greatest admirals in the American fleet, Spruance and Halsey. This was recognition of its exceptional role. It was not merely a ship, but the command center for gigantic naval operations that decided the fate of the entire Pacific. By the end of 1944, the New Jersey had earned a reputation as the most combat-ready ship in the American fleet. Every sortie by the New Jersey dealt a powerful blow to Japan's military potential. But ahead lay new, massive missions: heavy bombardment of the Japanese home islands, and the final, toughest trials of the war's last months. In the concluding stages of the conflict, the New Jersey became a true steel hammer, smashing enemy bases and fortifications. Its guns fired dense salvos at enemy positions almost daily, reducing fortified garrisons to ruins. The bombardments of the Japanese coast itself were particularly impressive, with every battleship salvo signaling the imminent end of the empire. Sailors recalled that in those days, their ship knew no rest. By day, it fired on the shore, and by night, it covered the carriers, repelling kamikaze attacks. When the fighting ceased, the New Jersey became not just a weapon, but a symbol of victory. After Japan's surrender, the ship received a new, peaceful mission, bringing thousands of soldiers home. The massive decks and cabins were packed with men who looked with awe upon the steel turrets of the giant that served as their transport to the long-awaited peace. For countless American servicemen, the New Jersey would forever remain the personification of coming home. However, the triumphant monster became obsolete in a world without global war. In 1948, it was decommissioned. Unlike dozens of other ships quickly headed for scrap, the New Jersey was preserved in reserve. Admirals were unwilling to let go of the legend. The ship was simply too powerful and valuable to destroy. Sailors who served on it believed the New Jersey would surely return. After all, it knew no defeat, and its steel had withstood everything Japan could throw at it. And although the battleship was anchored in the reserve fleet, there was a sense that this behemoth would speak again. Indeed, destiny prepared the New Jersey for a new baptism of fire. Very soon, a new conflict erupted on the Korean peninsula, and the steel giant came back to life to prove that the age of the battleship was not yet over. The Korean War broke out suddenly in the summer of 1950 when North Korean troops invaded the South. The American fleet was caught off guard, but the Pentagon quickly realized it was time to bring back those recently deemed unnecessary. Among all the reserve ships, the New Jersey was the first candidate. That autumn, the giant left the reserve fleet. Its hull was repainted, its mechanisms restored to working order, and its turrets once again functioned. When the battleship appeared at anchor, sailors said it felt like the awakening of a sleeping monster. Hundreds of men returned to its decks, and the crew once again became a fighting brotherhood. In May 1951, the New Jersey approached the coast of Korea. Within days, its 16-inch guns roared, raining a deluge of steel onto the North Korean fortifications. American soldiers on the front lines later recalled that every battleship salvo felt like an earthquake. Enemy bunkers, supply depots, and artillery positions were obliterated within minutes. The New Jersey's special power lay in its mobility. While ground artillery had limited range and required time to relocate, the battleship could move along the coast at up to 30 knots, rapidly shifting fire wherever it was needed. North Korean troops tried to hide equipment in gorges and tunnels, but against shells weighing nearly a ton, there was no protection. The ship once again became the fleet flagship. Vice Admiral Martin, commander of the 7th Fleet, raised his flag aboard. The New Jersey not only shelled the coasts, but also covered the carriers operating off Korea. For many American pilots who bailed out into the sea, the battleship became a salvation. Its crews quickly recovered airmen directly from the water. By the middle of the war, the New Jersey's name had become legendary. Even adversaries acknowledged its impressive accuracy and rate of fire. In just a few months of service, it destroyed dozens of enemy fortifications, depots, and artillery batteries. When the war ended in 1953, sailors remarked that the New Jersey had played the role of an entire army, encased within a steel hull. However, peace once again prevailed. The battleship was deemed surplus in the age of jet aircraft and missiles. Soon, the New Jersey was sent back to reserve, but its name was forever cemented as a symbol of power and resurgence. After the Korean War, the New Jersey once again found herself in reserve. It seemed that fate had finally decided to cast her into the shadows. The era of jet fighters and guided missiles was displacing the giants of the past. In 1957, the ship was officially decommissioned and took her place in the so-called mothball fleet. The enormous machine sat quietly at the dock, with the wind sweeping across her decks. Many believe this was truly the end for the New Jersey. But history had other plans. In the 60s, the world plunged back into war, this time in Vietnam. American air wings were losing dozens of planes with every raid. A dense network of enemy anti-aircraft guns and missiles was devastating the fleet. Politicians and military leaders searched for a solution, and then someone remembered the sleeping giant whose guns could strike the coastline without risking a single pilot. In 1967, Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara signed the order to reactivate the New Jersey. An urgent modernization began. The ship received new fire control systems, upgraded electronics, and decks refitted for modern helicopters. When the work was complete, the steel monster roared back to life. In the spring of 1968, the New Jersey officially returned to service, and by autumn, she took up her combat station off the coast of Vietnam. Her first salvo thundered on September 29th. In a single day, the ship fired nearly 30 16-inch shells, destroying fortifications in the demilitarized zone. A full-scale artillery campaign followed. The New Jersey moved along the coast, methodically shelling supply depots, fortified villages, artillery positions, and anti-aircraft batteries. Her guns smashed targets where aviation feared to venture. American infantry and Marines absolutely loved this ship. When they were pinned down, all they had to do was call for New Jersey support, and within minutes, a hurricane of fire would engulf the enemy. In 7 months of service in Vietnam, the New Jersey fired more shells than during all of World War II and the Korean War combined. Almost 6,000 rounds of main caliber and over 15,000 5-inch shells. This was a record that any battleship in history would envy. And all this was achieved without a single serious casualty or damage. The Vietnamese simply did not possess weapons capable of penetrating the monster's armor. The crew once again felt invincible. The legend was alive, and the enemy understood. If the New Jersey was on the horizon, days and nights of shelling lay ahead, and neither jungle nor mountains could offer shelter. During her Vietnam deployment, the New Jersey became a genuine nightmare for the enemy. From late 1968 to the spring of 1969, she daily unleashed a torrent of steel onto the coastline and jungles unlike anything seen before in that war. Each of the battleship's missions was a spectacle that shook even battle-hardened soldiers. Her 16-inch guns operated with relentless intensity. Sometimes over 100 shells targeted positions overnight, and every single target was utterly annihilated. Jungles were scorched by explosions, enemy fortifications turned to rubble, and bunkers vanished along with dozens of fighters. Marines joked that the New Jersey was their personal god of war, called for support, and the thunder of heaven descended upon the enemy. The ship's speed allowed her to change bombardment areas within 24 hours, attacking either the DMZ or areas where large Viet Cong forces operated. Unit commanders said they felt safer knowing the New Jersey was beyond the horizon. At any moment, she could intervene and decide the outcome of a battle with a single salvo. A bombardment in January 1969 left a particularly strong impression when the ship was called to the aid of the 101st Airborne Division. American soldiers were encircled, and only the monstrous fire from the New Jersey saved them from total defeat. In a few hours, the battleship destroyed dozens of enemy positions, carving a path to safety for the Marines. The Viet Cong tried to adapt. They increased camouflage, hid depots deeper in the jungle, and built underground tunnels, but against shells weighing nearly a ton. These measures proved ineffective. Even if a shell didn't hit a bunker directly, the sheer shockwave destroyed the shelter and overturned the earth. North Vietnamese forces understood they had no weapon capable of destroying this steel monster. Throughout the Vietnam campaign, the New Jersey never suffered serious damage. Her armor and speed made her untouchable. A feeling of invincibility reigned on deck. Sailors knew they served on a legendary ship that had once again proven its uniqueness. But the war in Vietnam was also an arena for politics. Despite fantastic efficiency, maintaining the battleship required colossal expenditure. Voices in Washington increasingly argued that keeping such a giant was too expensive, even if its combat value was undeniable. Soon, the crew learned the shocking news. The New Jersey was to be decommissioned again. After the incredible salvos in Vietnam, the crew was certain their ship would remain in service for years. But the decision of the High Command was a cold shower. In 1969, the Pentagon announced the ship's retirement. Sailors couldn't believe their ears. The New Jersey had just proven it could replace entire air squadrons, operating day and night in any weather. Yet, economics and politics prevailed. In the late 60s, America was spending billions on the war, and maintaining a crew of 2,000 seemed an unaffordable luxury. The ship was sent back to reserve, and her turrets fell silent once more. For many, this was a personal tragedy. The massive steel machine that crushed the enemy was suddenly deemed unnecessary. For many years, the New Jersey sat idle, but the world changed again. In the early 1980s, President Ronald Reagan announced an ambitious program to create a 600-ship navy designed to challenge the Soviet Union on the oceans. America needed powerful symbols of strength, and no ship was better suited than the Iowa-class battleships. The New Jersey was resurrected once more. She was modernized for the new demands of the Cold War. The decks were fitted with launchers for Tomahawk cruise missiles and Harpoon anti-ship missiles. The old turrets were retained, but now stood alongside modern fire control systems and electronics. The legendary giant transformed into a hybrid, an old-school arsenal complemented by new, high-precision weapons. When the New Jersey put to sea again, her silhouette was stunning. The combination of gigantic guns and modern missile launchers created the image of a ship capable of fighting a war in any century. Soviet submarines and reconnaissance knew. The appearance of a New Jersey on the horizon meant the Americans were demonstrating the full seriousness of their intentions. But service was not limited to flag waving. The New Jersey participated in operations off the coast of Lebanon, shelling militant positions. Her 16-inch guns roared back to life, and the world realized, even decades later, the battleship remained a deadly weapon. By the mid-80s, the New Jersey had become a symbol of renewed American naval power. She was respected by allies and feared by adversaries. But time marched on, and even with missiles aboard, the battleship remained a representative of a fading era. Soon, she would embark on her final voyages. When a New Jersey was reactivated for the Cold War, the world expected action, and the ship delivered. In the early 80s, she deployed to the Mediterranean, where civil war raged in Lebanon. The Americans needed a show of force, and the New Jersey approached the shore like a steel mountain. In December 1983, her turrets turned toward the coast. The 16-inch guns thundered in a full combat salvo for the first time in decades. Hundreds of shells rained down on militant positions. Reporters wrote that the earth shook dozens of miles inland. For those who witnessed it, it was clear the New Jersey could still wage wars. Then came the Persian Gulf. Amid escalating tensions in the Middle East, America again deployed its giants, and the New Jersey became part of the pressure campaign. Her Tomahawk missiles and those same old guns made her a universal weapon. She could unleash an avalanche of steel onto the shore and simultaneously deliver precision strikes hundreds of miles away. Thousands of sailors served aboard her, proud to be part of the legend. For them, the New Jersey was not just a ship, but a living symbol whose decks resonated with history. Sailors said that standing next to the massive main battery turrets, one could hear the echo of past wars, the Pacific, Korea, Vietnam. But time was relentless. By the late 80s, the Cold War was nearing its end. Military budgets were slashed, and the question of maintaining the battleships returned fiercely. Despite the modernization, the New Jersey remained a fuel-guzzling giant, requiring hundreds of tons of oil and a crew of thousands. In 1991, the order came. The New Jersey was to be removed from active service. For the fourth time in her history, she was decommissioned, and this time for good. Sailors said the day the flag was lowered was the hardest of their entire service. It felt like an entire era was ending. The steel monster that crushed the Japanese, shelled fortifications in Korea, scorched the jungles of Vietnam, and thundered off the coast of Lebanon fell silent. The New Jersey completed her time in active service, leaving behind a legacy that few American ships could match. The New Jersey's fourth decommissioning was her final one. In the spring of 1991, the massive flagship left the fleet and the stars and stripes were lowered over her deck. Sailors stood at attention, knowing they were witnessing the end of a legend. For many, this was the moment history ceased to be lines in a book and became personal memory. The memory of a steel monster that survived an entire century of warfare. No other battleship of the Iowa class had such a long career. The New Jersey remained on active duty for over 21 years of pure combat time, longer than the Iowa, Missouri, and Wisconsin combined. She participated in World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and Cold War conflicts, always returning when America needed a weapon capable of instilling fear with its very presence. Tens of thousands of sailors served aboard her. She navigated the largest battles of the 20th century, fired tens of thousands of shells, shot down dozens of planes, and was the only battleship to see combat in 3 different wars. The New Jersey earned 19 battle stars, a record for American battleships. When she was finally towed away to reserve, veterans wrote letters describing the New Jersey as a living entity. The colossal steel machine that roared like thunder and saved lives became a symbol of invincibility. And though her guns no longer fire, the memory of her remains in the hearts of those who saw her in action. Thus ended the story of America's most enduring and most combat-ready battleship. The New Jersey retired not defeated, but a legend. And that is what makes her unique among all the ships of the 20th century.